Are more changes coming to the Oklahoma Sooners coaching staff?
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there for tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We're back together again after a couple weeks apart where Jay was on vacation, and then I got a little getaway with the wife. Jay, it's good to see you, man. I hope everything has been good. I know you've been battling an illness, but looks like you're rallying.
Yeah, I'm rallying, and I want to apologize to all our everydayers. I was telling y'all I was going to have an episode for you all yesterday that morning, and as I started to record it and get it going, I couldn't stop coughing. And I didn't think y'all want to hear an episode like that, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to have to just punt it, give a mulligan, get myself drugged up, and then John, you told me you were coming back early. I was like, all right, we'll knock it out and give everybody a good episode here on this Wednesday. So thank y'all for being patient with us. And John, I am so glad to see you because it's always so much funner to do it with a partner.
That's right, man. It's always good to be back together, and we got some great news. We got some great topics to discuss on today's show.
We do.
Some big time recruiting news that came out over the weekend. Oklahoma in the playoffs. They put out a college football playoff projection way too early. That's going to be interesting to discuss in the second segment. But DeMarco Murray getting some Penn State love. Jay, what do you make of this? It came out from On3 on Tuesday afternoon that DeMarco Murray was kind of a front runner for the running back coach's job at Penn State.
So, yeah, this is the second time that a Big Ten school has tried to get DeMarco Murray services. And supposedly, based upon the reports we've seen on social media, is that there has been conversations between the two. And On3 is saying that he is definitely a top candidate. Rivals, the OU Insider team, tweeted out late last night that he's staying based upon sources. John, I have no clue what the heck is going on with this one, but we all know that DeMarco Murray was kind of in the running for some, NFL jobs, in which that's actually the expectation from a lot of people. They thought he would take an NFL job. And right now, there's still one job out there in the NFL that I can totally see him taking. His boy Kellen Moore is now the head coach over there at the New Orleans Saints. There's a chance that he could try to snatch him up and bring him there if DeMarco is still kind of putting feelers and fishing for a potential NFL job. So I don't know what to think, but I kind of expected DeMarco to leave. But Penn State, I'm going to be honest, it doesn't make any sense for him in comparison to like the situation with Jim Knowles. We can talk about that in a minute.
It's one of those things that we discussed on this show, I don't know, maybe a month ago, because Colin Kennedy had a report that it was looking likely that he might head to the NFL, and he was getting some overtures from other places. He's just one of those guys that because he was a successful running back at the NFL level, he's a big name, people know about him, he's going to generally be in the news when it comes to these offseason coaching cycles. I don't know if he'll go or not. It seems unlikely. He's an alum of the University of Oklahoma. I don't know if he's got big ties to Penn State and their offensive coordinator situation. It doesn't make sense on that front. The way it does make sense to me, Jay, is if he's just looking for a change of scenery, if he's looking for another step, if he feels like, okay, hey, I do want to be an offensive coordinator one day, but in order to do that, I probably have to leave the University of Oklahoma because they may only ever see me as a running backs coach.
And that I 100% agree with. It does seem like if DeMarco wants to progress up into another role, then yeah, he's going to have to move on and to get an offensive coordinator spot. But I don't see him leaving for a lateral position without there being some ties. Like, for example, last season when Ohio State was trying to get him, the rumors were out there that his wife is from the Cincinnati, Ohio area. So that would make sense to take that job, getting closer to her family or something. But based upon the reports, DeMarco's building a new home in Norman, and I've heard that he did very well with his NFL money. He invested well. I mean, he was one of the higher paid running backs for a bit because he's one of the more productive ones. So he's got money. I think that's why he was also one of the lowest paid coaches on the staff initially. He was kind of doing this for fun. But now that he's becoming in demand, yeah, people are going to, they're going to try to find ways to up his salary because they want someone that's really good at recruiting. Because that's what he's shown us. He's a really good recruiter. He brings in talent. The jury is still out on the development, but he was probably with Ramondre Stevenson. You had Kennedy Brooks. You had Eric Gray, in which I had to do a whole apology tour on him because the first year I was just like, you're questionable to me. And then the next year he gets 1,000 yards. I'm like, all right, dog, I was wrong. My bad. You proved me wrong. So the development still, we got to still see it with the players we currently got now. I mean, he's got a very good room when healthy. I mean, Salchuk looks really good when he's healthy. Javante Barnes is a hard runner, and he's productive enough. And then Xavier Robinson is a rising star, and it's still got Taylor Tatum and just brought in Torrey Blaylock. So it's not like the cupboard is bare if he was to leave. The question is, how serious is he about going to an offensive coordinator position? And if he is serious, I don't feel like a lateral move makes sense. It feels like he needs to go find somewhere that will let him be an OC.
Yeah, or even going somewhere like New Orleans where Kellen Moore would call the plays, but DeMarco Murray could be, quote unquote, the offensive coordinator and help with the game planning, the offensive design, all of that.
Yep.
Get that experience, and then maybe one day go be the play caller somewhere else. We see that kind of thing happening around the league, around college football, where a guy might be the offensive coordinator in name, where the head coach calls the plays, gets that experience as the offensive coordinator, but then decides, hey, you know what? I got to go somewhere else to call plays so that I can get that experience as the quote unquote offensive coordinator. So the other way that this makes sense is if DeMarco is just looking for a pay bump. We see this all the time, right? A guy is looking to see if he can get a little bit of a pay bump, and that name gets floated out there, whether it's legit or not. And then we find out weeks later that pay bump's coming at the next Board of Regents meeting or whatever. So whether or not DeMarco Murray should get a pay bump or not, that's up to you all to discuss in the comments section. He's recruited very, very well. They were a bit snake bitten this year because of injuries. They were a bit snake bitten this year because of the offensive line play. But once the offensive line started doing some things in the second half of the season, we saw some pretty good running performances out of Javante Barnes and Xavier Robinson. So it wasn't like those guys weren't able to perform. It's just in the first half of the season, the offensive line production was just not good, and it didn't allow the running backs to really get anything going. So listen, I think that there are ways that he can continue to improve as a running backs coach, but I think by and large, his tenure as a running backs coach at the University of Oklahoma has been pretty good.
Yeah, it's been solid. Like, I can't complain and say, like, if I want to nitpick, I can nitpick, any of the coaches on the staff or anyone in years past. I can nitpick Bob Stoops if you want me to be truly honest. We all can. So it's not something with him that I feel like it was just brutal or bad. I'd say it's been probably one of the better terms to use that the kids nowadays don't understand what it truly means. It's probably mid. Mid's not bad. It just means that it's right there in the middle. Like, it's not amazing. It's not awful. It's about there in the middle. I think it's probably been about mid. Yeah, he's brought in some good talent. We just haven't seen fully the production yet, especially the last few years. Now that Brent Venables has been here, we haven't seen the full production we want to see. So it's been mid. So the ceiling is still high. Like, as you mentioned, like, to me, the ceiling is still very high. And if he figures this out, we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, you had Ramondre Stevenson had a really good second half of that 2020 season, right? And then 2021, Kennedy Brooks was was it 21 that Brooks was good, or no? Because he sat out 2020. Kennedy Brooks came back in 2021, played really, really well. 2022 was the Eric Gray season, and then the last 2 years, kind of similar to tight end, right? It's just been up and down. Obviously you've had some productive games out of guys like Gavin Sawchuk, who finished the 2023 season strong. Javante Barnes was pretty good in 2022. It's just, you don't have anybody that is a bona fide NFL running back that came out from underneath DeMarco Murray, aside from Ramondre Stevenson. And he's the only one.
That's true.
So if there is a legit critique, it's you don't have a guy that's been under DeMarco Murray, that's gone to the league and had significant production. Kennedy Brooks had a little time in the league. Eric Gray is still in the league, but nobody that's gone and become a featured back like Ramondre Stevenson has with the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
And I think we can leave it at that. DeMarco Murray still
agree.
has that to prove. Can the Oklahoma Sooners make the playoffs? The Oklahoman might be a little bit more optimistic than your boy John here. We'll discuss coming up next on Locked On Sooners. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit our style and budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed in no time. There's something for every style in every home, no matter your space or budget. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. And what is your decor style? Why did you pick these items? What do you love about them? Well, Wayfair can help you out with that. Just go to wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com. I'm going to do this again because I read those italicized ones and I should not have. God, dude, don't take time off, John. Here we go. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit our style and budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed in no time. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home at wayfair.com. Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on every podcast platform and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. The Oklahoman came out with a way too early college football playoff projection over there. Matt Hayes, part of the USA Today Network, mentioned this. The Oklahoma Sooners coming in as the 9 seed, Jay. This is crazy. I want to be optimistic about this team, but let's just run it down. Penn State at number 1, Georgia, number 2, Clemson, number 3, Kansas State, number 4, Ohio State, 5, Texas, 6, LSU, 7, Oregon, 8, Oklahoma finishes in front of BYU, Illinois, and Boise State. Crazy.
Kind of fascinating choices here. Like, I get the LSU one. Clemson, I have questions, but they're bringing back some players. So I totally get that. Penn State still got 2 of the best running backs in the country in their backfield. They just don't throw the ball very much. Even with Andy Koltanecki, you would think they would throw the ball more, but adding Jim Knowles, which is probably a huge boost to their defense, even though defense wasn't their problem, may get them to where they need to be. That, like, they're bringing back probably one of the more experienced teams in the country. But seeing Oklahoma here, what intrigued me about it was the focus on John Mateer. And that's kind of been like the narrative for me that I've been preaching this entire time is we have a competent offense. You get probably 2 or 3 more wins. That gets you from 6 to about 8 or 9, maybe 10. That's all you needed. And then we'll break down and go through all the quarterbacks we're going to see this coming season, especially after the spring portal and spring game or whatnot, and all the injuries set in for everybody, because unfortunately that's inevitable. Knock on wood, we have as minimal as possible. But John Mateer is the focus here. Like, I get it. They're pointing this out. Now, the schedule's brutal, but we got more home games. We got, 3 road games this year? Thank goodness. We only got 3. We get the flip because last year we had technically 3 home games with Red River, with us being the home team. We wore our crimson. Now we'll wear white, which I think the white team is undefeated. The white jerseys are undefeated in Red River for the last 8 games or something like that. But I think actually probably less, but I digress. My point is, they're understanding the assignment. If Oklahoma has a competent offense, there's a very good chance that teams will struggle once again with this defense.
And here's what he had to say. He said, "What's good? John Mateer, the difference between an ugly first season in the SEC and a CFP run in 2025. The transfer quarterback from Washington State was the number 1 player in the transfer portal and is a dynamic dual threat. The Sooners couldn't get first downs in 2024. They'll score in bunches with Mateer and transfer wideout Isaiah Satania and high-volume championship subdivision transfer receivers Keontez Lewis and Giovanni Gibson." So, yeah, I mean, it comes down to the offense. If the offense is good, if it's even respectable, they'll be in playoff contention. If it's good, they'll be in SEC title contention.
Yep.
If it's good. If it's respectable. And as much as we want to put it all on the shoulders of John Mateer, to me, it comes down to what they get from the dudes up front. Because if John Mateer don't get no blocking, it doesn't matter if he's Patrick Mahomes, as we just saw in the Super Bowl. If they cannot protect him, it's going to be really, really rough. Now, Mateer runs better than Patrick Mahomes does, so that gives him a little bit of a plus there. At the same time, if you're expecting your quarterback to throw it 25 to 30 times, you still got to be able to protect it. And you got to be able to run the ball, and you got to be able to run block. And what has made him so effective in his ability is his ability to run the football too. So you've got to be able to figure out the things up front so that you can allow your highly touted, highly regarded transfer portal quarterback to shine.
Yeah, that's all you need is making sure that you're doing a good job of blocking, in which, to be quite honest, the way that this offensive line is constructed, you're bringing back majority of your experienced guys. You're bringing back a lot of snaps. You just need them to be healthy. And so, as you said, the questions you have on this team is really going to be, is the offensive line going to be healthy enough in order to protect John Mateer long enough for him to go out there and cook? Now, I do believe that. We're healthy with both the Jakes at your bookends, with Ozaida and Fabichi Wewu, or EPL, who's gotten some experience and has shown us that he's got a little nasty streak to him. Troy Everett's back in the middle. I think Branson Hickman is back too. I haven't seen anything saying that he was gone.
No, I'm back.
Right? There's no I'm back. There's no I'm gone. There's nothing.
Until it's Twitter official. So
yeah, that's a fair point. And I don't see him, but I mean, I think he has one more year left as a super senior. So you've actually got too deep of players with experience. You're not playing a whole bunch of freshmen this time around, which is basically my point. Wewu played the entire season. Ozaida was growing throughout the year. Logan Howland's gotten better. You bring in Derek Simmons, so you bring in a veteran. Then you still got your 2 bookend tackles of Isaiah Autry-Dent, Ryan Fogier, as well as Michael Fasusi. So you got 3 pretty high-end dudes that can step in and technically take other people's jobs if they really need to once they learn the system. So, look, you've got a good chance for this line to actually be at the level you were expecting. Well, our problem last year, we were dealing with a whole bunch of inexperience. They got a year of it. They got their butts kicked. So now they learned, all right, we need to turn up the intensity and train like the defense did in order to be able to be productive.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Derek Simmons piece, but Luke Buklenko is another veteran addition that they made. That you got 2 guys that could play offensive tackle, they could play guard. You've got a lot of intriguing options. It's just a matter of it coming together, the guys staying healthy, there being cohesion and continuity, that and them being better. Like Heath Ozaida was good at times, Logan Howland was good. They were good at times, but they have to improve. Jake Taylor, Jacob Sexton, you can talk all the potential you want. We haven't seen them play a significant amount of snaps, and they have to be good. Derek Simmons, he has to make the jump from playing at Western Carolina to playing in the SEC. Luke Buklenko, same thing. He's got to make that jump from playing at Stanford to playing in the SEC. You got to see an improved Troy Everett. I mean, he was one of the more promising parts of your offensive line. He's got to continue to get better.
Yep.
Fabichi Wewu, he has to play at the level he was playing at the end of the season for the entire season and he has to take a jump. Like, everybody's got to improve. You've got a lot of competition, a lot of competitive depth, but it's one of those situations where it's like, how good is the depth? How good are the guys that we expect to start? Because we don't know. And I think if I have any hang up about this team at all, that's where it's at. I think offensive line I think it'll be good. I know quarterback is going to be okay. I think wide receiver will be just fine. Running back is going to be okay. Tight end, it may or may not matter. It all hinges upon the offensive line. If the offensive line can return to respectability, it doesn't even have to be Joe Moore award-winning offensive line.
Nope.
It just needs to be the 2023 Oklahoma Sooners offensive line that was really good. It needs to be that good for Oklahoma to go and be an SEC title contender.
Being respectable, honestly, if they can get back to the level that they played against Alabama, in Missouri, that's good enough for everybody else in the SEC.
The signs are there. Like, there were signs that this could be a good unit. I just need to see that from week 1. I got to see that, especially week 2 when you host Michigan. Like, that's the game. There's no easing into this. This is not your, walking into the infinity pool or the zero entry pool, and you get to kind of ease your way in and kind of feel out the water a little bit. Just check to see if you're going to be able to tolerate the temperature. No, week 2, you got to be ready to go. You got to have your best 5 guys ready to play and ready to go knock some heads, because you're going to get tested and you're going to get challenged week 2.
The good thing is that 24 class was the class that everyone was really excited about. For Bill Beaton-Bowe. That was the one where you brought in 5 dudes and you felt like, all right, this is the foundation for the future. Well, we're now in year 2. You lost Eugene Brooks, who went back home. Kind of expected it, but now with Josh Isosa, Isaiah Autry-Dent, adding in, Daniel Akinkumi, and then EPL, those 4 dudes are now expected to be the ones to step up and be the game breakers, or at least be good rotational pieces. The red shirt's out the window now. If you're good enough to play, you're gonna play. So I truly believe that you'll see EPL and Waywu rotate more. But also, speaking of Waywu, he played the entire year. He had his ups and downs, but that was year 1 with Bill Beaton-Bowe. Mm-hmm. Year 2, McKay Matara, to me, took a huge jump his second year here.
Yep. Same with Chris Murray.
Exactly. It's like
Wanye Morris.
Yeah. It takes a year under Bill Beaton-Bowe to understand learning all the positions. And then year 2, people go out there and rock it. So, to me, my expectations is I better see Waywu out here knocking heads, or he needs to be pulled and put EPL in the game.
Yeah. I think everything's up for grabs. I mean, again, Troy Everett is about the only dude right now I expect to start. I would expect, I bet you we would kind of be a starter to start spring ball, but all bets are off. Like, everybody's got to go earn their job. And you've got the next, 7 months to go do that before week 1 of the college football season.
Yep.
Battle Royale. Time to throw all those big nasties in the ring together and see who emerges as the best 5. We're going to actually discuss offensive line play on our Thursday episode, where we're going to answer your mailbag questions. We've got some great questions. If you've got a question you'd like to see featured on a future mailbag episode, make sure you hit the comments or hit us up on social media at Locked On Sooners and just write mailbag at Locked On Sooners and then write your question out. We'll make sure to highlight it on a future show. We've got some big recruiting updates to discuss, in particular about a 4-star quarterback, a wide receiver that might remind you of somebody, coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. So, Jay, some interesting recruiting nuggets came out over the last few days. Let's start with the quarterback. Let's start with Bowe Bentley, because he was the one that kind of came out of nowhere for Oklahoma, and it kind of shocked a lot of people that Oklahoma was going to pursue another quarterback in the 2026 class. But tell the people why it kind of makes sense that Oklahoma would go after another quarterback in this cycle.
Yeah, and so there was even an article, I think it was on ESPN, where they talked to Jaden O'Neal about that or whatnot. And initially, he was a little concerned about, him staying committed. He continued to stay committed to the team and decided that, no, I'm going to stay here. This is where I want to be, and I'm going to do that. And then Oklahoma let them know that they're going to make an offer to another quarterback. And so everybody's like, oh, wait, so we're going to push Jaden O'Neal out? No. The logic behind it is, you brought in Brendan Zurbrugg with Michael Hawkins last class because you needed additional arms. Well, Zurbrugg transferred out. You lost Steele Wazzle. He transfers out. You lose Jackson Arnold, who transfers out. So right now on your roster, you got John Mateer, you got Michael Hawkins, you got Jet New. That's it. And then you got Cole Gonzalez, who won't be there next season because he'll graduate. So you kind of need to have a fourth arm. And whenever you get to the NIL perspective or the revenue share side of it, what's cheaper, a recruit quarterback or a transfer quarterback? Because you actually need somebody that can be able to compete. Not that you think they can win the job, which is a possibility. You need someone that's going to be competitive enough to be out there for scout teams and things of that nature. So the logic behind adding a fourth arm is that we've had some injury unluckiness over the last couple years. You probably want to make sure you have a quarterback that can play. Heck, I know y'all remember the Dylan Gabriel concussion.
Yeah.
And we were scraping the bottom of the barrel when we were trying to get backup quarterbacks anyway, and we couldn't play a quarterback in the Red River. Y'all don't want that again, right? Yeah, that's how you prevent that. You got to get guys that can actually compete. And so that's the logic behind it. And honestly, Bo Bentley kind of reminds me of the way Mateer plays. He's a dual threat guy that throws and run. He throws and runs, where Jaden O'Neal's more your pocket guy. So the question's going to be, are they looking for someone that's closer to the style that Arbuckle's used to coaching? Or, because to me, they could truly play Jaden O'Neal similar to the way that Arbuckle played Cam Ward.
Yeah, and that's what it seems like with, potentially bringing in a guy like Bo Bentley. So the news is that Oklahoma is planning to have him for another visit sometime this spring. Also, LSU, Missouri, Florida State are going to be pursuing him. He's a talented dude. I mean, he's got the ability to be a big-time player at the collegiate level. It's just a matter of, does he feel like going to Oklahoma and competing for playing time with Michael Hawkins in tow, with Jaden O'Neal coming, and who knows if John Mateer goes to the NFL after 2025 or if he sticks around for 2026. Who knows? Will Bo Bentley see a path to playing time? Will he be interested in coming and competing? I mean, only he and his camp know that. But, I mean, he's a talented dude, and if Oklahoma's got an opportunity to land him, why not add as many talented quarterbacks as you possibly can? There's nothing that says you have to just take one quarterback, and there's nothing that says you can't stockpile all these really good quarterbacks because, again, like Jay just mentioned, you never know when you're going to need one. And with the transfer portal, with the way injuries can happen, you might see yourself third on the depth chart and then all of a sudden be thrusted into the number one spot just a few weeks later. It's just the way that the world works in college football right now. So definitely I very intrigued by this. I'm not saying he's going to go to Oklahoma, but I think he always talked about Oklahoma, or at least he's mentioned that Oklahoma was a dream school. Like he likes the University of Oklahoma. That's a big deal for him. The other big recruiting nugget that came out was about a 4-star wide receiver that is a very intriguing player. This is Davian Groce out of Frisco, Texas. He's listed as an athlete according to 247 Sports. On3 projects him as a wide receiver, and he's a legit 4-star right now. Probably going to be somebody that ends up as a 5-star. He's a top 50 overall player according to Rivals, ESPN, 247 Sports, and number 2 or 3 at wide receiver in those rankings. He's a top 12 player in the state of Texas, and this dude is legit. Why Oklahoma? Well, he's got some family ties to Oklahoma and to Texas A&M, according to his father, who spoke with Steve Wiltfong of On3, basically saying his mom's got family in Oklahoma, and that's what's made that very intriguing. But his dad's got family in College Station, so that makes that very intriguing. Jay, when you look at a guy like Davian Groce, what do you see in him?
Oh, he's one of those players where he's multi-tool. You just throw him on the field and say, go make something happen. Mm-hmm. And at his size, 6'1", 190, looks like Emmett Jones is his main recruiter. As we know, Emmett Jones has a great relationships in the Dallas area of Texas or whatnot. And he does a good job going extended down to Houston as well. So Texas, Emmett Jones kind of owns. And he's one of those players you can bring in, and he could truly be like a Percy Harvin type. You know, remember what Percy Harvin was at Florida. He was ahead of his time, unfortunately, to where he couldn't be, you know, what you see today out of Deebo Samuel. That's something that you could see out of this kid. He's a punt returner. He's a kick returner. He can take handoffs. He can take jet sweeps. I know y'all hate that word. I understand. Please stop throwing tomatoes at the screen. Stop booing. Calm down. I just said it's okay. Jet sweeps are good when you don't have, 150-pound guys blocking for you. I digress.
When you're not running them to your slow guys.
Right. Or running with your slow guys and you're running it to a little bitty dude.
Right.
My point, he can do a lot of stuff for you, and he can be all over the field. He's one of those players where teams, once they see him, they're like, okay, we need to figure out where he's at. If there was a recruit I can compare him to recently, would be Terry Bussey, who ended up at Texas A&M. That kid did everything, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. He did it all. This kid can do the same. And so all I can see is if he does it, if we can get our hands on him, Emmett Jones is cooking with grease once again.
Yeah, he's a future star. He just has that innate ability to create big plays.
Yep.
When there's not a big play to be created, he creates it. Whether he's taking a handoff behind the line of scrimmage and running between the tackles, he's making guys miss. He's bouncing off tackles. He's able to run through guys, past guys. He's got the speed to break away from guys. I mean, he's got every tool in the bag. And that's what's crazy. Like, you look at him and you just see a dude that plays way better than the high school competition that he's playing against. He makes them look like, JV guys. Like, he's that good. I highly recommend you go watch his huddle highlights because the dude is just so talented. I don't know if Oklahoma's going to get him. Oklahoma's not done well when they've gone up against Texas A&M. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
He is so good. If you're going to throw a full court press out at any skill position player in this cycle, he's that guy, because you can line him up at wide receiver and he's going to make a play for you. You can line him up at running back and you can do a lot of really, really fun things with him. You can either throw it to him out of the backfield. You can hand it off to him between the tackles. You can run wide zone with him if you want to. You can throw the wide receiver screen with him. You can run the jet sweep with him. And he's a guy that's going to be able to create a play out of that. He's a natural receiver. He can catch the ball so effortlessly with his hands. He's not fighting the ball in the air. It's so smooth the way he accepts the ball into his hands. So I'm there. Of all the players that I've watched so far in this cycle, he's easily my favorite player to watch because of the way that he just runs with great contact balance and just, he runs smooth.
Yes.
He has like an upright running style, which to me doesn't necessarily lend him to playing full-time running back because he'll take a lot of hits that way.
Yeah.
But he just runs so effortlessly that I think he's going to be a big-time player at the collegiate level.
No, I totally agree. And that's the game that I saw out of him watching his huddle film. He's one of those players that you have to move around too. I don't think he's one that can be set as only a running back. Probably you can play him as slot wide receiver and that would be fine. But having him with like an Elijah Thomas would be just a nasty wide receiver setup. Because Elijah's going to, mark my word, kid's going to be nasty here. 6'1", similar. But Davian, he lists himself on his huddle at 6'2", 190. That's like CeeDee Lamb size.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And I know y'all hate making those kind of comps, but I'm going to say he reminds me a lot of CeeDee Lamb when you watch him play. It just looks like a similar style of player. Will he be as good as CeeDee Lamb? Only time will tell. But that's kind of what I saw when I watched this kid play. I'm like, what? Who is this kid? Where did he come from? How come he's not listed as a 5-star already? He'll probably end up the cycle as a 5-star. but he's just uber talented. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be done gushing over Davian Groce. But again, go check out his highlights and tell me you're not seeing the same thing. But that's gonna do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. Waka waka waka.
Davian Groce. He's that dude.